XYBERJAE here, and if you watched my first episode on who is Peter Thiel, you will know that I did mention alexkarp, the CEO of Palantir, and how it's all connected to Peter Thiel. In this video, I will show you Palantir, aka Skynet. Watch and learn.
You apply for a job, never hear back. Your resume uniquely filtered, not by a person, but by a prediction algorithm fed by your uniquely private life.
No wonder I haven't been hired.
Social media.
This is why I probably have not been hired, but it's okay.
Your race, your relationships, then processed to make a decision whether you can afford to live. You search for chest pain symptoms at 2 a.m. The next day, an insurance company emails you about a specific plan tailored to you. You get pulled aside at an airport. No stated reason, you just matched a pattern. They're reading your shadow, the data you've shed, the gestures you've forgotten, and the correlations you didn't know existed. This isn't fiction. This reality is being constructed right now, and there's one group that's making this possible. They're called Palantir.
There it is, Palantir. Did you see that photo? Look again.
Making this possible. They're called Palantir.
$ PLTR in the stock market. There he is, Peter Thiel. alexkarp is the CEO of Palantir, but this is Peter Thiel right here. Made a video on him. Go watch it on my Rumble and YouTube. Remember, friends with Elon Musk, puppet mastered at JD Vance, and got rich off PayPal with Elon Musk, and also an investor in this.
A group that has quietly operated behind the scenes for years. And what they built isn't a system of raw surveillance. It's authorship. The ability to write your life before you live it. And what's being authored is something that will mark the rest of the 21st century. Something that will absolutely impact each and every person watching this video, no matter who you are and where you live. So, who is Palantir? Palantir is a publicly traded corporation that specializes in big data integration on the software level. But what does that mean? In layman terminology, Palantir focuses on the orchestration, organization, and implementation of data. A ton of the information behind the scenes that products and services need, with a focus on automating the decision-making processes with that existing data infrastructure. But how and where do they do this? They do this for corporate clientele such as JP Morgan, Wendy's, to public entities such as Britain's NHS.
There's a reason they do Wendy's. You'll see why.
Norwegian Customs, Danish BOL, Intel, predictive policing, all the way to ICE and the CIA in the United States. Product lines such as Palantir Gotham allow police departments to predict potential crime with data of citizens in a given community. They can even run probability for whether someone might have a mental health crisis. For militaries such as the IDF, Gotham can expand drone capability to be completely autonomous, controlled, operated, and executed by a machine learning algorithm.
He said controlled, not trolled. We do the trolling.
Predictive outcomes in healthcare and supply chains,
Remember
such
that.
as Britain's NHS. As we speak, Palantir is experiencing an unprecedented rise in market cap, growing by 23 times since 2023. They were founded by Peter Thiel, a billionaire venture capitalist and mega donor of the Republican Party, who broke campaign finance records by donating a whopping $15 million to
J.D. Vance, the
Vance's
VP.
2022 Senate campaign. Thiel is also famous for pushing for fully private-owned city-states entirely owned by corporations.
You would prefer the human race to endure, right?
Look.
You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
Yes?
I don't know. I would.
It's a long hesitation. It's a long hesitation.
There's so many questions, unfortunately.
Scary. He's hesitating. It's very, very scary.
The human race survives.
If the human race survives. If we will.
Yes.
Okay.
But
Wix gives you the power of AI to
Sorry.
build the website you need.
The second major player is the eccentric CEO, alexkarp, an odd
There he is.
technology CEO who has remained in the shadows until recently.
To disrupt and make the institutions we partner with the very best in the world, and when it's necessary to scare our enemies and on occasion kill them.
A question emerges here. Amidst a very unstable technology market in the US, an economy generally bearish at the prospect of new technology investment, how has Palantir quietly grown by a seismic 23 times? Palantir didn't grow overnight, but the acceleration they are experiencing seemingly did. An acceleration fueled by robbery in plain sight. A heist that dwarfs anything in history. Yet, it's important to note the past 40 years of neoliberalism can be described as a heist in general, an unprecedented seismic extraction of wealth from normal, day-to-day working class people, to the point where the rich have never accumulated more wealth compared to the rest of society in human history. But we all know this. Many aren't surprised that the top 10% own 93% of the entire US stock market, that the top 1% own over 30% of all wealth in the US. Journalists, economists, and even the rare politician have warned us for decades that this level of extraction is occurring. But without outright crippling society to the point of economic collapse, what else is there to take? Turns out, a lot more. And it's far more powerful and substantial than money could buy.
President Trump and Elon Musk's latest moves to reshape the federal government. The top Social Security official stepped down after Musk's team requested access to sensitive personal data about millions of Americans. Senior political correspondent Rachel Scott is tracking it from Oregon.
After the 2025 presidential election, the Trump administration announced the creation of DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, with
Nice.
the official aim to cut, quote, fraud, waste, and abuse in the public sector. Headed by Elon Musk, and with
And the government is still broke and we still had shutdowns. Because of the Democrats, I know, but if we can barely afford to pay for the people, what are we saving? Did we save any money? Did we help anything?
employees of Palantir, Musk made an official goal of cutting $2 trillion in what he claimed was identifiable waste. In actuality, the final sum expected to be cut is $160 billion, with official estimates showing that Doge's total operational cost to be around $130 billion itself. And according to a report from Yale's The Budget Lab, the measures to cut various government agencies is expected to create a net loss of $300 to $500 billion over the next decade. And despite this, this has been the Trump administration's greatest success. That's because Doge is a lie. The point was never to cut fraud, waste, and abuse. It's a facade for an ambition much greater and far more consequential. In February of 2025, members of DOGE gained root access to a plethora of government IT systems, such as the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and the U.S. Agency for International Development. But the real crucial one is the Social Security Administration, harboring one of the most sensitive databases in the United States. Birthdays, historical addresses, employment history, financial records of every single American. It doesn't take a genius to understand what is going on here, but what sells the terrifying endgame is the transparent, illegal nature of this. Federal courts have blocked DOGE from entering these databases after it was already done. But that's the point. The repercussions do not matter. Even if courts find DOGE and the Trump administration in judicial contempt for illegally accessing federal databases, the data has already been siphoned. In April of 2025, Judge Ellen Hollander denied DOGE access due to concerns around privacy and the Fourth Amendment, along with the Fair Privacy Act, a 1974 law that requires explicit protection of personal data unless there is immediate urgency in law enforcement functions, which, as the courts reflected, there clearly is zero urgency to combat crime that would necessitate unfettered access to the Social Security Administration's database. Yet, in June of 2025, in an absolutely contradictory and wild ruling, the Supreme Court ruled that the Trump administration had authority to executively access federal databases at will. The only 3 liberal judges dissented. The behavior here is what is particularly dangerous: to execute without legal process, without genuine consultation of the law. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson voiced concern regarding the Trump administration's legal defense. In essence, the urgency underlying the government's stay application is the mere fact that it cannot be bothered to wait for the litigation process to play out before proceeding as it wishes. A concerning question here remains: is this naive hubris of the Trump administration a lack of concern due to Trump's evasion of legal repercussions, or is this done with a strategic plan of assurance that the law will not be applied to them after the fact, that the few democratic judicial procedures in the U.S. will be null and void by the time justice could ever be served? We don't know the answer. What we do know is that all our collective, sensitive data is now out in the wild, unbeknownst to us, but not without emerging clues.
Let me introduce you to my creative assistant, Claude. Claude is an AI collaborator that...
No, it's not. Claude sucks. It's all about Grok by XAI.
In May of 2025, a New York Times article highlighted the Trump administration's plan to create a centralized database on every single American citizen. Palantir is set to lead the charge. Little is known how this database will be constructed, what technical data will exactly be used. But we do know Palantir representatives have been in contact with 2 big American agencies, the Social Security Administration and the Internal Revenue Service, who head the 2 most important government databases in the country. It's important to note how information systems work. One might argue that our data is already in a specific state database, that the entirety of our information is already available to the state at large. This framing is incorrect. It presupposes that the state is a single entity, able to executively access specific data at will. Information systems are much more fragmented, and that's on purpose. The Social Security Administration will not have access to the same data as the Department of Health and Human Services. It's the centralization that changes everything, and the horror of this conundrum is twofold. The state now has unfettered access, a single executive database to pull from. And now, it's not just the state. A third party, a private entity, Palantir, owns the keys.
I have given it to some
and give it to Elon as a presentation from our country. Thank you, Elon.
All of this was under the political banner of efficiency. Trump's administration wanted to stop fraud, waste, and abuse by eliminating information silos through the process of, quote, removing unnecessary barriers to federal employees accessing government data and promoting interagency data sharing are important steps towards eliminating bureaucratic duplication and inefficiency while enhancing the government's ability to detect overpayments and fraud. The efficiency was made possible by tearing down the legal, privacy, and data protections in place to protect American citizens from third parties. And the Trump administration handed the keys of our most sensitive data to one of the most sophisticated data organizations in the world. But you may ask, for those of us around the world, for those of us who don't care about data integrity, what does this mean for us? Well, it means everything, because everything is at stake.
Mm-hmm.
Information is a currency far greater than the dollar or any tangible asset. It allows for the prediction of that very everything. And Alex Karp understands this.
With them being the winner of the world, because if they're winning, it means other people are losing. What do you think of that?
I don't think in win-lose. I think in domination.
I Think in Domination by Alex Karp, CEO of Palantir.
Do you know who Palantir is?
I do.
Do you think that
Mark from Facebook.
Palantir has ever scraped data from Facebook?
Senator, I'm not aware of that. We've entered what theorist Shoshana Zuboff calls surveillance capitalism, an economic system that doesn't extract value from your labor, but from your behavior itself.
Mm-hmm.
Every search, pause, purchase becomes raw material for algorithms that predict and modify what you will do next. And it's a surplus.
So with data, they need the algorithm. They can't do anything without an algorithm. They want to see everything. For example, if he or she is this age, at this time of day, during this day of the week, they went on Amazon and they're trying to buy this and that. If they bought this, they also bought that. They're trying to put all of this in your cart before you even think about it.
Plus, you give out freely. While scrolling social media, visiting web pages, much of your digital life. This might seem overly theoretical and dramatic in nature, but this model of extraction is right here. Bruce Schneier, a cryptographer, computer scientist, and author, coined it perfectly. Surveillance is the business model of the internet. We build systems that spy on people in exchange for services. Corporations call it marketing. When immigration data gets processed, Palantir and the state is not just tracking individuals, they're modeling migration patterns to engineer policy responses. When health records get analyzed, they're not predicting individual outcomes, they're optimizing population health according to invisible, computerized priorities. You aren't just being watched, you're being predicted, and prediction becomes policy before you know the game has started. Another reason why
Prediction becomes policy. This helps politicians. For example, if they know what 90% want, that politician is going to promise that and win the 90%.
data is so incredibly powerful in the hands of organizations with vast computational power is the sheer speed and velocity it's able to capture behavior.
Behavior. So remember, they need the algorithm. They already know the decisions if they could figure that out. But they need the setup, the actual algorithm. They got the numbers, they plug it in, but they need that strategic algorithm, that math equation, how to put it together. This plus that over this equals that. Let's keep going.
To predict to fundamentally own. Paul Virilio, a theorist and military historian, is also particularly relevant here. In the 1970s, Virilio coined the term dromology, relating to the Greek word dromos, which roughly means race. Dromology can be seen as a way to understand the contemporary relationship with society and speed. Virilio sees speed as a fundamental mechanism of power and a driving force in technological growth. In the context of modern warfare, pure strategy no longer wins. Superior logistics do. From the Wehrmacht's strategy of blitzkrieg to the United States' ability to reach A to B in the supply chain. In the case of domestic society, telegraph to the telephone, to advanced computation and digital communications. Yet, to Virilio, there's side effects. Speed confuses. It creates what Virilio calls the tyranny of real time, a type of sociology that minimizes the geographic, physical existence of life by way of rapid communications, digitalization, and processing power, which then can lead to instability, upheavals, and even the erosion of democracy by way of a cult of technocratic efficiency. Just through the speed of modern work and technological innovation, our ethics, the sublime humanity we hold, tends to get tossed to the wayside.
This is hands down one of the most powerful AI platforms for digital marketing, similar web. And
No, it's
honestly,
not.
Virilio was concerned about an emerging ideology of technological determinism and supremacy. The belief that technology's evolution, its ability to innovate, was enough to legitimize itself. That any result from technological growth is inherent, perhaps not proper, nor desirable, but inevitable, and we have no say. Does that sound familiar right now?
I think
And that is Sam Altman, CEO of ChatGPT by OpenAI.
AI will probably,
I don't like him either.
most likely sort of lead to the end of the world, but in the meantime, there will be great companies.
End of the world? Let's hear that again.
I think AI will probably, most likely sort of lead to the end of the world, but in the meantime, there will be great companies created with serious machine learning.
Palantir embodies this. It may seem that Palantir's extreme centralization of information is reckless. Arrogant executives foaming at the mouth at new quarterly increases and a bump in stock price. But this underscores the very intentional, real power grab that is happening, and the goal is not merely financial in nature. Palantir's ability to harness the power of speed, its velocity of growth, and information capabilities is what makes this a horrifying prospect. The effect of this is the evisceration of democratic procedure, expectations, and privacy. This creates an effect similar to what Foucault deemed as panopticism, the effect of surveillance, normalizing of an authority that watches to the extent you regulate yourself. It's not just the mass collection of data of many across the globe, but the quiet acceptance, creeping normalization, the feeling of inevitability, that our entire DNA can be sequenced remotely, our behaviors, mental patterns, synthesized and predicted. Private health insurers and or state healthcare systems may have access to nearly all of your data and have the power to make predictions on health outcomes. They may deny your care based upon specific behaviors, your whereabouts, and weekend activities. Marketers can target individuals with accuracy we've never seen, based upon biological makeup, your spending habits. With your data becoming centralized in a master database, combined with the rise of self-trained AI and neural networks, political corruption, and administrations that willingly sacrifice public commons in favor of capital, the disturbing possibilities are endless. But not all is lost. We create new data every day, and much of it is under our control. While not all, we have ownership and agency around how and when much of that data is shed. On the front of a state-sponsored centralized database, Explicit political pressure is about all we can do. This is a unique dilemma, not even security researchers would have predicted. This is relatively new territory. It must be conveyed as a crisis alongside and equal to issues such as climate change, money, and politics, which it absolutely is. There's also a lot we can do individually to combat the peripheral data collected by private, large-scale tech platforms, such as social media, online shopping, and general computer use. While this goes beyond the full scope of the video, we can limit our footprint, avoiding the gold mine we create for corporations that are contrary to normal people's existence, using open source software, refusing to use tech platforms that make you the center product, or, if you must, poison their data sets. Never use real names, give false addresses, make their data completely inoperable. As individuals,
That's why I say
we can still
CyberJay.
control what data private entities collect from us. In theory, we can destroy the very fabric that makes corporations such as Google profitable. What is more difficult is a state-ran, centralized database, though. Digital hygiene and individual habits don't equally apply here. There will need to be collective pressure, and we will have to work together. But it's up to us, whether or not we will approach these challenges with a cynical nihilism, a laziness that accepts defeat before the race has finished. Or we can move forward with the courage and understanding that we still fundamentally control the keys. Thank you all for watching and making the game.
And that is the point of us cyberpunks. To show you that we still have control. We have the keys.
And I have a request. These videos are incredibly time consuming and expensive to make, and I couldn't do it without the support over on Patreon. If you enjoyed this video, consider pledging just a few dollars a month. While we're here,
There you go. If you
also
want to
give
donate,
an extra
go
special
ahead.
shout out.
And that was Palantir. What do you guys think? Like, comment, reshare, watch it more than once, show it to your friends, family, and yeah, remember, it's not to sway you away, it's just to give you the information. And you interpret it however you want. Remember, you hold the keys. CyberJay out. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my X, Rumble, YouTube, and be in the loop when I release new content. Also turn on the notifications so that you never miss an episode. I look forward to seeing you all in the future. Because there is a future. You are the resistance. CyberJay out. Back to the VR underground metaverse. See you all there.